Hi, I'm Paula Bernier with TMC. I'm here at ITEXPO in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I'm talking to Amitabha Mukherjee with Redshift Networks. Welcome.
Hi, Paula. How are you? Thanks so much for your time.
Great,
it's a pleasure
thanks.
to be here.
Thank you. So for those who are not familiar with the company, can you give us a sense of what you do and how long you've been around?
Sure. So the company is basically focused in the voice security, voice analytics, and voice fraud space. And we've been in the market for about almost 7 years now. And we've been in the carrier space for about 4 years now. So we've been really focused in selling our products to the carrier market for about 4 years now. And we have a pretty good set of customers, almost 24 sets of customers, both in the U.S. and outside the U.S. We have about 3 of the largest top 10 carriers in the world that are using our products. And we have now trials going on with another 24 carriers around the world. And again, includes some of the top 4 or 5 carriers in the world, outside of the top 3 I mentioned. So we've got a pretty good penetration right now, and it's a pretty interesting market and opportunity for us that we see for ourselves now.
And as I mentioned, we're here at ITEXPO. What are you showing and talking about here at the show?
So basically the goal of the show, of course, and ITEXPO is a very important piece of our puzzle because it's a very important show for us. So, of course, the whole audience is around looking at voice over IP solutions and unified communication solutions. So we're actively talking a little bit about what we do, specifically security, as you know, is a very big theme here this year in the show. And what we have is a lot of real-life information about what's happening out there as far as attacks and hackers and where the attacks are coming from around the world. We have many deployments, as I mentioned, around the world in real-life carriers. And you would be surprised to hear that some of the top carriers in the world, they're seeing so many attacks in the voice realm, which normally don't. We hear a lot of data attacks and Trojans and malwares and all that, botnets and all that good stuff, but voice is a new realm of attack. So we have all that information. So we're announcing that we're working in the security realm, and of course the other pieces now we're getting in the enterprise realm. We initially were, as I said, focused on the carriers. We can scale our products up to millions and millions of users that can handle large carrier networks, and now we're also scaling down so we can handle large enterprise networks. We are working with one of the top carriers in the world today, and they're selling our solutions to some of the larger Fortune 100 companies and Fortune 50 companies in the U.S. As they also start learning about the attacks and threats and the need for analytics to look for these kind of attacks in the voice networks.
And so can you tell us a little more about how carriers are using it? Are they using it internal to their networks, or are they just using it as a service and selling it to enterprise customers?
Right, it's a little bit of both. So initially what we see that they're using it for internal their network. So what we talk about is, as carriers, they're implementing session border controllers, and they're implementing, of course, their whole voice over IP and unified communication infrastructure, as well as cable MSO operators are moving towards SIP and moving towards soft switches, and of course also the mobile operators are moving towards VoLTE, voice over LTE. What we're seeing is that whole migrations, it's all SIP enabled. So as they go into SIP, the requirements for security becomes a very important issue. As you would, if you're an enterprise, or if you buy a PC, you wouldn't think twice about not putting any antivirus on your PC. So we're asking for carriers also to think about security, because now they're getting into the IP realm. And so we asked them to add security functionality above and beyond what the session border offers. Right? Session borders, of course, are things that are around for almost 15, 20 years now. And the application landscape has completely changed since when we first started. We were in the fixed phone environment. Today you can have your click-to-call applications, and you can have collaboration applications. So it's become a whole new universe of access devices to voice communications. And with that realm, of course, the threat matrix and the threat vector increases tremendously. It's sort of analogous to what we had when the routers were enabled. And when I was maybe back when I used to be in a company called Wellfleet, we used to sell routers. And when firewalls came about, they said, why do you need a firewall when we have a router and can do all the things? But you need a firewall because all the different threats are much above and beyond what a router can handle. So that's where we come in with the session border controller. So carriers are using our products to protect their own network, to secure their own carrier core. And at the same time, what's interesting is what we've seen is that we do a lot of analytics on the network. So we basically look at live SIP traffic frames, and we look at the SIP traffic, and we're able to implement our analytics to look at all the anomalies that are happening in the network. So we call our product anomaly detection. So anomaly detection is really what's normal traffic patterns. So that means it could be attacks, it could be threats, it could be troubleshooting issues, or it could be misconfiguration. So that's a pretty broad realm of opportunities there. And carriers like that because at the end of the day, all of those are service impacting. And of course, they affect their service and they affect their customer service. So they like the opportunity to look at all these analytics of all the different things that are in the network and look for these anomalies. So as we worked with almost 45 carriers around the world, and they include, as I said, some of the top carriers in the world, we've learned a lot of how, what the anomalies are and what attackers are doing and what experiences carriers are having in trying to secure their network, or at least have a network that's not so many problems in the network, right? So with that realm, they're using our product. It's sort of a next generation way of looking at troubleshooting and looking at misconfiguration, looking at attacks also, right? And again, of course, the carriers are using it tremendously. We typically work with the fraud group, with the operations group, and also revenue assurance group, sometimes the NOC, sometimes the 911, 911, 911 operation group, emergency number group. So there are different groups that our carrier product fits into. As I said, we're now getting into the enterprise space. So now some of the carriers are actually promoting our product to their enterprise customers. They have very large enterprise customers, of course, and a lot of these companies may be banks or governments or very large entities, and security becomes a very important issue for them. So our product is now fitted into that realm, and they're seeing a lot of really interesting value add that they're selling to their customers, because now they can sell a vanilla SIP trunk, but if they want security, enhanced security with a SIP trunk, they can now add and get more revenue from their customer base. So that's what we're enabling those carriers also to protect their own core, but also helping them to make money elsewhere.
And so are you reaching the enterprise exclusively through the carriers, or are you also going direct to enterprise?
So typically pretty much through the carriers, because what we've seen is that it's interesting. We initially, long time back in our life cycle, we had actually targeted enterprise directly. And but that time, SIP wasn't that prevalent in enterprise, and SIP trunking was sort of starting out. Now that it is prevalent, what we feel that the carriers, since they're already developing and implementing the SIP trunk, they can offer enhanced services with that offering. And so it's been much more effective for us to go with the large carriers and also medium-sized and small carriers. It just depends what the carrier is, but definitely they add a lot of value. We also partner with some companies where we're adding management and monitoring services for the security realm. So that becomes also interesting because voice security is new, or the carriers don't understand the breadth and depth of the security threats that are out there. So, and it's a process. I mean, it's like anything that's new in the market, innovative. It takes a while to understand it, especially when there are attacks from all over the world. So we have a managed service offering to help carriers understand it, and then we basically build it out for them, help them, and then they can later on learn and operate that. So it's a process of build, and then let them operate. So we're doing a little of that because that's part of educating the market on how things are happening.
Right. Beyond the carriers, can you tell us a little bit about your go-to-market?
Yeah, sure. So basically today we work, as I said, typically with carriers, and we typically go direct to the large carriers. We also have some vendor partnerships. So we will be announcing a couple of vendor partnerships in the very short term. We can't officially announce them today, but they include some of the largest telecommunication companies in the world that are now starting to resell our product into their customer base. And we see that as a very proof of that our product has really a lot of weight and opportunity out there for the market. What we also see is a lot of the carriers that are implementing our product, they see that it's a must-have product in their realm. They've gone through, what we also see a little bit interestingly is that when carriers first implement VoIP, they're all about quality of service and troubleshooting and making sure the network's working fine. But then they start waking up to the security realm, and that's where a lot of our vendor partners are now working with us to sell our products to their customer base. We have many ongoing engagements with them today. I just can't disclose them because we haven't officially announced some of these partnerships, but we will in the short term. We do today supposed to work with NEC, so NEC resells our products specifically in Japan today, and we work with them on companies like SoftBank and KDDI and NTT, which are some of the biggest carriers in Japan. In the U.S., we're just about to announce another large global partnership, several large global partnerships. So it's a process that's going on, ongoing process. And we're also opening up some managed service provider channels. So these are folks that will sell our product along with managed services. We typically don't go to the typical VAR reseller enterprise channel because, as I said, we've seen that. We see that the carrier process is a much easier process for us. Maybe in the near future we may do that, but today we're focusing more on the carrier space.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being with us
today.
Great.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for your time.